I mean, what else can you say about this guy? It's just unbelievable. One of the rarest, most interesting, most successful fighters in MMA history. It's incredible what he's able to do. And of course, Alex Pereira last night at UFC 320 beats Magomed Ankalaev to become yet again the UFC light heavyweight champion. And I know what everyone's going to say. It's like, oh, well, Luke, do we really need a breakdown for this? Well, maybe not, right? I mean, part of it is pretty clear what happened. He just got in his face, and I think the pressure overwhelmed him. But hear me out. Let me show you a couple of extra details that I think really sell and explain just what happened, as well as how good Alex Pereira is. It's time for technical difficulties. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Technical Difficulties. My name is Luke Thomas, and this is where we take a look at the weekend's best fights. Now, again, everyone's going to be like, Luke, the answer's obvious. It was pressure. And absolutely, that's correct. Pressure is key to everything. But let me show you a couple of other things that really sell this fight. Namely, what you're going to end up seeing in the first fight is that Poatan was able to land leg kicks, but Ankalaev didn't really react to them. But there's a pretty good reason for that, right? It's because most of them were it was open stance, so it was the lead leg of Poatan against the lead leg of Ankalaev, and it's just that little step-up kick. It's not really a very heavy one. You got to get the back leg involved to really make that happen. And in fact, in the Ankalaev versus Blachowicz fight, that's exactly what you got, and it caused Ankalaev a whole lot of problems. You just didn't really get that in the first fight between Ankalaev and Poatan. Well, you get it in this fight, and it has the exact same result as it did for Ankalaev and Blachowicz, namely, it forces Ankalaev to switch to now orthodox. So now, instead of being open stance, it's orthodox. But here's the problem, or here's the difference, I should say. In the Ankalaev and Blachowicz fight, Ankalaev was still able to pressure Blachowicz backwards, or to bare minimum resist pressure, because there just wasn't a lot coming from Blachowicz. That's clearly not the case with Poatan. Poatan was able to get right in his face and make a big press about it. And the reason why that's significant is because obviously what Ankalaev wants to do is, pressure, and if anything lands, he can shoot like a really kind of halfway takedown, put you up against the fence, and then stall you out from there. He did that, in fact, to Poatan in their first fight, but it requires him being on the front foot, and it requires Poatan being on the defensive. He took that away completely, right? So we've got duress all the time. He's up against the fence. He has to go left or right. Potan's giving him a choice. You can run into the left hook or you can run into the right hand. These are the things he's making him choose. But because he did those leg kicks from the back leg, up to the front leg, and got the stance switch, what ends up happening is essentially he gets Ankalaev to make a cardinal mistake in his footwork that causes him to get hit by the right hand. Let me show you what I mean. So this is what it's looking like. You've got a southpaw fighter and an orthodox fighter. This is open stance. It's not closed, it's open, yeah? So what happened in the first fight was you got leg kicks from this leg to that leg. And there's a little something to it, but there's not a lot of power. What you really need are the back leg ones. Now, in this particular scenario, you can see he's got the left hand if you go this way, he's got the right hand if you go that way. And you can see what the pressure looks like, right? I'm just going to give you a pretty quick glance at it. He's going to L-step here, Ankalaev is, bump, like that. He's kind of going square for a moment. But for the most part, he's staying in southpaw. But look, he's way behind the black line. So he's under a ton of duress, a ton of pressure at this point. And Poatan's making him pick. Do you want to run into the left hand or the right? Now this one, he gets kind of intercepted here a little bit. It gets messed up. He can't go all the way that he wants. But I want you to pay attention to something. He's not just throwing it over his shoulder. He's dipping, right? So there's a level change that goes with it. This will prove important because A, he knows he has to come over that hand, but also he wants the hands lowered of Ankalaev, and getting in that opposite stance that he's not normal with. Not only does his footwork get messed up, but his defense gets messed up too. But you can see, the right hand's going to pressure him this way, right? So then he goes this way, but then he's got that jab, and you can see Ankalaev's trying to put stuff in his face and his body to back him off. By the way, where's that jab? It's a jab to the essentially to the body. It's a lowered level here, kind of to the chest, right? This will be important a little bit later. And then, of course, as you see, he's going to follow him here with that left hook. He's going to push him in this direction. Now, the right hand misses right there, but you see the dilemma he's creating for him. Now pay attention. Touch. Okay. Back leg kick. Bah. That's one. It's not going to take many. Okay. A little bit later. Again, pressure still on him. A little bit later. Again, look. Behind the black lines. This is where he is. Here comes another one. Touch, touch, bang. Got a little bit of a check / defense on this one, but it doesn't matter. There's another one. Tries to back up Poatan. Can't do it. Touch, touch. He's trying to set the distance. And what do you notice? Look. So, touch, touch, change rhythm, bang. Right? So he's also breaking rhythm with him and going for that. But it's the back leg. Bang. Now what does that do? That's the beginning of the end, brother. That's the beginning of the end. It gets him into this stance. Now, to be clear, Ankalaev is a talented fighter. He can fight out of orthodox if he has to, but it's not his optimal stance. More to the point, as I mentioned in the Blachowicz fight, sure, it looked like this. Blachowicz in orthodox, and then eventually you got Ankalaev in orthodox. But in that fight, Ankalaev was pressuring Blachowicz backwards, which enabled him to then stall out at times after he was getting really beat up. Poatan's not allowing that. Poatan's pushing him back, so it's making him use much more evasive footwork and therefore catching his defense and getting him into problems, right? So here we are a little bit later. Watch. Pressure, 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 right? Boom. Now it's still the back leg. It's just landing on the front leg this time because you went from open to closed. But, boom. All right, now you got him backing up. A little bit of a check on that one too. But watch this. Right, pressure, pressure, kind of moving forward. Again, we're behind the black lines here, right? Look at this one, right? So Poatan kind of feinting. You see he gets the hand up here for the left hook, and he's got this lead hand low because he wants to catch him coming in off those jabs or, you know, some other kind of pressured attack, right? That's what he's looking for. Poatan sees that as well. And of course, what does that leave? It's going to leave a huge gap in his defense right here. But that's not the most important part. Here comes the important part. Pressure, same thing, hand up here, right? Watch. He's going to jab, and he's going to bring his foot behind him. Now, this is not so bad, but it's going to get bad. He's going to take a step out. Watch. Now, look at this. Look at the angle of this foot. It's still not too terrible, but I'm going to show you what I mean in a minute. He's going to L step this way, right? There's the L step. A little bit comes out, leans right. Now he's going to lean left, right? But watch this. Steps out. This foot is going to go all the way there. Now we have a problem, right? Look at the angle of this foot. Where's the other foot behind it? There's space behind it. He has crossed his feet. Now there's many problems with crossing your feet. Cross your feet and try and throw a punch, then get into a good stance and throw a punch, and tell me which punch is harder. That's one issue. But the bigger issue in this particular case is because he's being pressured, that means your footwork battle and your foot speed, essentially, or your footwork speed more broadly, it needs to be on time. Because if Poatan through pressure can get you to play catch-up, that means he can be ahead of you. And if he can be ahead of you, he can land before you can, and then the problems emerge. And in fact, watch what happens. Look at how much quicker Poatan's punch lands before Ankalaev's. It's not an accident. Yes, he's got these weapons. You go left to hit Poatan's left, you're going to hit the left hook. You go right, you're going to hit the right hand. So you got those corralling weapons on the sides. You got the pressure backwards. All of this creates urgency. But the real issue is he crosses his feet, Ankalaev. Boom. Well, now, in order to get right, he has to uncross them just to get in his stance. But by that point, Poatan's already in throwing motion. Watch. Check this out. Okay, so watch. Look at this big step. Okay, so now you have to uncross them. So he's going to uncross this one first, right? Meanwhile, this one doesn't move. The back foot of Poatan planted. He's going to have to, Ankalaev, adjust this back foot, which he does, but he's still not there, right? Because he has to get this other foot to turn off the hook. You don't always have to do that, but he's going to do that. All right, so look, this foot is not, look at this. This foot is, you can literally see there's shadow underneath the foot. You can see a shadow underneath the foot of Ankalaev. Meanwhile, look at that arm. It's already in motion. It's just an instant away from hitting. His feet aren't even planted, and Poatan's almost hit the target. You're behind if you're Ankalaev. You're behind. You crossed your feet. Now you have to uncross them to get ready to then throw, But at that point, the punch is already incoming. Look, boom. By the time his feet are, by the time his feet are finally set, the punch has already landed. The punch has already landed. It's over. And look at how far away that, remember he was trying to get that hook, that check hook coming. There it is. One more time. There it is. But it's so far behind and so far delayed, it doesn't even matter. Look at that. Watch one more time. It's a footwork issue. Under this, look at how he's so close to the fence, right? So he has to be very careful about this because he doesn't want to stay square with Poatan. He wants to get bladed, right? But in order to get bladed and do it quickly, he oversteps. But because he oversteps, he has to correct the stance. 1, 2, there's the second one. And then the third one, it's still not quite right. Look, he's taking that step out. His foot is leaving the ground as Poatan's almost made contact with him. You got behind. That's why the pressure was key. It not only took away the wrestling or the clinching, stalling that Ankalaev tends to do, but it put him into a place where in opposite stance with a lowered hand, right, waiting for that check hook because, Poatan had played with the levels in terms of what he's throwing, but he makes a cardinal sin with the footwork error, and then as a consequence, kaboom, son. Dude, who can stand up to that? How awesome is that? Pressure. But more importantly, skills win fights, but skills are based off of fundamentals. And of course, it's very hard to fight in your opposite or your not your natural stance. I'm not saying it's easy, but it was so impressive by the team that Poatan had. They knew they would probably switch, and if you could put him under duress, even if he was in his normal stance, he might walk into one of the weapons. But either way, if you can make him switch, you can get him to walk into something, bring his defenses down, or get his footwork all jumbled up, and they cracked him with it. He just makes an error with the footwork. It's not a huge one, but at this level, look at that. You can't get away with that. You just can't get away with that. Open it back up, open again. Look, just watch this one. Watch this and then watch this Watch this and watch this at the same time. His feet are planted, Poatan's. Just watch. Planted. So look at this foot in motion. He can't throw until that's planted. Try throwing a hook off your back foot like that where the front foot is landed. Meanwhile, this one's already almost made contact. Boom. His punch lands by the time Ankalaev's feet get set. Pressure, footwork, evasive footwork. The pressure was key. The back leg kick was key. And of course, bringing it all together with giving him corralling weapons, left hook, right hand, and then playing with the levels a little bit, bringing it down so that he has a hand up here and he's trying to find you here, right? Rather than being nice and tight, he's got it out here. It made all the difference. That's it. It's just crazy. Boom. And then, of course, there's just a little bit of follow-up here. Look at this, real, shot. I mean, he's down on his back knee. I mean, there's nothing to it. And then he gets a down block, right? And then he's just going to underhook and then roll him over. And then from here, he's just going to tear him up, you get the idea. I'm not going to look at the whole thing. That's it. How awesome is that? Taking all the lessons he learned from his first fight with Ankalaev, taking the lessons from the Blachowicz fight with Ankalaev, getting right in his face, giving him a dilemma about which way to go, making him choose his footwork under duress, which causes him to make a mistake, which causes him to get behind, which causes him to get cracked, which causes him to lose. Unbelievable. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, consider subscribing. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, enjoy the fights.